Motherfucker.
Look at all these. So the claim that federal border, the claim COVID vaccine shed viral particles is false and baseless. COVID vaccines do not contain a live virus. Shedding is not possible. So they're saying that all those doctors who are saying that people who got vaccinated with COVID shed they're saying that. So this is, do you see what they're doing? They're saying that's not true. Those doctors are wrong. So, this is one of my favorite accounts. Midwestern Doc is a solid account. Everything this guy or person, girl, I don't know, could be a lady, it's Midwestern Doc. Everything Midwestern Doc writes is unbelievably thorough and sourced. That's how I found out about the skin cancer. That's how I found out about the products in sunblock are actually bad for you, or in a lot of sunblocks. There's a good sunblock, and then there's the bad sunblocks. And they don't tell you. Also, I found out through them that the skin cancer you get from the sun, this deadly skin cancer, the melanoma, doesn't come from the sun. The basal cell you get from the sun, you know what the survival rate is after 5 years? 100%. So anyway, I've covered that in another video. That's Midwest. So here they are putting a note on Midwestern Doc. And this is all in the last 10 days, all these. So it just goes on and on and on and on. And it goes against certain accounts that go against the establishment narrative. There's die suddenly. There's another friend of the show. So we've had this woman on, Mary Talley Bowden. She's been vindicated because she came out and said lots of things about COVID and the jab. She says, we now have 95 candidates, 76 elected officials, and 1 surgeon general from 33 states publicly saying that COVID shots must be recalled. This person said, there's no evidence COVID vaccines are so dangerous they need to be removed from the market. Many studies prove COVID vaccines are safe and adverse events are very rare. So this is the kind of thing that one account does constantly. And this guy's saying this isn't one person doing this. So, this is just in the last 10 days, all these community notes to one account. So obviously the community notes thing is corrupted and people have figured out how to game it. Am I using the right term? I think so. Here's a vaccine whistleblower who was a sales rep. Santa Barbara coroner concluded anti-vaxxer Brandy Vaughn died of natural causes. There's nothing suspicious about. So Chris Little Woo says they are either bots or groups of bad actors working together to utilize a single account and push an agenda. IP and MAC address access would easily identify this. I'm a community notes contributor, and I'm telling you that the system is compromised. It is. That's the problem with community notes. That's a big problem. Laugh my ass off. Desert Raven has added a community note to be reviewed about this post. You can't make it up. What did they say? Community notes are not manipulated by one person. Contributors can leave notes on any post, and if enough so that he just proved that that's no way that that's real. Yeah, so there it is. Community notes are not manipulated by one person. So they put that community note on a post about community notes. Let's talk about community notes. FYI, I'm a community note. Here it is. Here's another one. People have proposed community notes about this post. There it is. So now you know the rest of the story. And nice work, Chris Littlewoo. Thanks for doing the hard work. Hilarious. Of course, the intelligence agencies, of course, Big Pharma, of course, the military-industrial complex, of course, CIA, of course, the Mossad. Of course, they all figured out how to game this system. Of course they did. And what sounds like a great system, turns out it's not. Just like Wikipedia isn't. Wikipedia is supposed to be just regular people. It's all just regular. But the gray zone has proven that the people who added at least my page and anybody who does anything controversial, their pages are being manipulated by the intelligence agencies. The MI6, CIA, FBI. That's who's... So if you go to my Wikipedia page, and now you know why it says Jimmy Dore is a conspiracy theorist in the first line, tell me which conspiracy I got wrong. Everything. I debunked conspiracies. I debunked the conspiracy of the gas attacks in Syria. They still said I got it wrong, even though Aaron Mate has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that we're right about that. They'll say Russiagate. Russiagate is the biggest, dumbest conspiracy invented by the intelligence agencies, the FBI, the CIA, and the Hillary Clinton campaign. The whole dossier was funded by Hillary Clinton. She paid for that and denied it to the FBI for a year. She denied it anyway. Of course she did. And there's never a price to pay because she's the establishment. And the FBI was trying to get rid of Donald Trump, as we now know. They lied to the FISA court 17 times to get a tap on his phone. So just like Wikipedia is bullshit, it's great when it's something not controversial. But if it comes to anything controversial like the Ukraine war or COVID or vaccines or lockdowns or masks or Syria or Russiagate or any of that stuff, it's garbage. It's intelligence community propaganda, establishment, big pharma propaganda, military-industrial complex propaganda. That's what Wikipedia is, even though they claim it's just regular people. It's not. Blax Blumenthal and the people at Gray Zone debunk that. It's not. Look at my Wikipedia page. Everything I've said about COVID has been proven true over time. I bet they still say the lab leak theory is a conspiracy theory at Wikipedia. I bet they still say that. And that's the same thing with community notes. They've been compromised. Okay, over to Steph.
Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So this is why Jimmy Dore Show is my #1 show. Love your neighbors. Read Stop Divisive Co-opted Identity Politics. We need engage and culture and not cancel culture. Thank you for that, E.F. Husso. Facebook is for boomers with Russian hacker paranoia. Dan. Jimmy, did you notice Exorcist F.R. Carlos Martin is in your L.A. area now? Interview.
Who?
F.R. Carlos Martins in studio now. It's never going to be easier. I emailed you suggested interview questions on Thursday, May 9th. Sandra, thank you so much. Much appreciated for the recommendation. Jimmy, that was very good to hear. I love the way you keep learning and growing. I'm so grateful to have found you in 2016. Forensic darling, thank you so much. I've heard secondhand of someone on mescaline and peyote meeting a god from the Aztec pantheon. Can you tell us which Mithraic god you encountered? $1 million. Thank you, $1 million.
Yeah, the one that looks like a human, but its face is like a lion and an ape. That's the one. Hey, guess what? You know how they're protesting in the United States, or are also doing it in Europe against the Israeli slaughter of civilians? I like how they call it. It's not a genocide. It's an ethnic cleansing. I like. Oh, it sounds like they're giving them showers, hasn't it? But here, so the cops came in. They were peacefully protesting at the University of Edmonton, Alberta, eh? And Edmonton's in Alberta, right? Yes. So watch the cops come in. Watch tough guys. Watch how tough these guys are. Can you imagine doing this to peaceful protesters? I mean, I could see arresting them. I could say, hey, turn around and put your hand. Now I'm going to walk you. Because, you know, that part of peaceful protesting is, you know, you will be arrested. But watch what they do to them. Watch what they do. They could just arrest them. But watch what they do. Just beating the shit out of them. Just beating the shit out of them. They just walk up to them. People just sleeping and sitting down. It's women. And
terrifying.
Start beating the shit out of them.
I'm going to break your shit.
Bunch of tough guys.
And you hear the other Canadians say, oh, a bunch of tough guys, eh? You're a bunch of tough guys. So again, if there's anything, if there's a recipe for anti-Semitism and less respect for the cops, it's this. And why do you think they need to do this? Why do you think they need to shut this shit down? Because they're not, somebody said this, they'll say, oh, they are interrupting, they're breaking the peace. They're disturbing the peace. They're not disturbing the peace. They're disturbing your war. And they can't have that. And that's why this is happening.
You're real tough.
Real tough. Here, let's watch a little bit of it. You just start kicking them, hitting them. Look at them just bashing them. With clubs. Unarmed people. They could have just arrested them. But no, they're going to go beat them. They're not being threatened. Their lives aren't in danger. Nobody's attacking the cops. Nobody's threatening them. There's no violence happening until the cops show up.
A bunch of tough guys. Yeah, you're real tough. Record. Everyone phones out. They're using tear gas.
And then they start using chemical weapons on them. That's what tear gas is.
Record. Everyone record. Off my students. Get off my students.
So I was just in Edmonton. That happened the day after I left. Eh? And there's a group up there called Police Free Schools Edmonton, and they released this on May 13th, a statement on police violence at the University of Alberta. And I'll read to you what it says because it's small. It says, on Saturday, May 11th, University of Alberta President Bill Flanagan, he called the Edmonton Police Service on students and alumni who were peacefully protesting on campus, The encampment protest, called the People's University for Palestine, YEG, was demanding the university's full disclosure of and divestment from investments of student tuition that enable the ongoing genocide in Gaza enacted by the Israeli government. At dawn, police in militarized gear encircled the group while many of the protesters slept or were praying. Around 5 a.m., police began shooting pepper bullets into the gathering while beating, gassing, detaining, and arresting peaceful protesters, with one person being taken to the hospital due to the injuries sustained at the hands of the cops. Within half an hour of the police sweep coming to a close, the University of Alberta released a statement, followed by an update on May 12th, with false claims in an attempt to justify this act of violence. The evidence shows that these students were safe and participating in a peaceful gathering until the moment that the police arrived. The authoritarian and reactionary decision by appointed President Flanagan to instigate a violent intervention rather than engage in meaningful dialogue with students of the University of Alberta is cause for great concern. While deeply troubling, it is also statistically predictable that the presence of the police placed students on campus at greater risk. These events confirm what Police Free Schools Edmonton and allied organizations of educators, students, parents, families, and community members have been saying. Police do not keep us safe. Police actively endanger all community members. First of all, you would think they would just have to tell you where they're putting their money anyway. You think that a public university who takes their tuition and then invests it in weapons sales and weapons manufacturers would have to tell you that. Where they put it? That's part of their protests. So anyway, that's quite remarkable. So you always think of Canada being nice people, peaceful, docile. They are some of the most authoritarian, crazy-ass motherfuckers in the world. Wait till I show you on Wednesday this new bill that they've passed. It turns thought crimes. They can put you in jail for thought crimes for life, even stuff you did in the past. So Canada, not that great peaceful place you thought it was. There are a bunch of authoritarian maniacs up there. A lot of people pushing back against it too up there. Look at the truckers. A lot of good people in Canada, But their government is horrible. Horrible. And horribly corrupt. They're not doing that to keep the peace. They're doing that to sustain a war. Okay, so that's it for today. And Steph's got some more super chats to read.
And then we're going to do a quick, what is it?
Locals.
Locals.
We'll do a locals today.
So I'll probably wrap this up in 10 minutes, and then we'll be back in 15 minutes, probably at the top of the hour. Top of the hour, we're going to get through this, and we're going to do about 15-minute locals, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Jimmy, big screen 4. Jimmy, you can take a break, pretty please, and I'll read these. Jimmy, have you ever heard of James Hillman? He guided studies for the C.G. Jung Institute. He's no longer with us.
I've read books by him. Yes.
Metafornication has other interests before veganism, all related, though.
Who is that? Who asked that question?
That's metafornication.
Metafornication.
Show Jimmy.
Metafornication. I've read many books by James Hollis. And, so I'm very familiar with his work. Okay, thanks for bringing it up.
All right, big camera. Thank you. Alice Miller said Jung made things over confusing as a way of avoiding facing things from his own childhood, i.e. staying in denial when we don't want to know the truth. We invent many ways to avoid it. Hannah, sir. We need segments on spiritual stuff. Show us the way, Jimmy. Too high to die. Thank you. Steph, has stopped smoking weed. Me, JD Nicer. I think I know what you're saying there. I got to tell you, things are going great before, during, and after DC 420 LA. It's funny with listening to Jimmy say that he doesn't have any kind of any longer. He's not really he doesn't get a craving for it. I do. So, we'll see how long this goes. I want this Jungian JD interpretation of life cut into a clip, please. Jeff Saucerman, it will happen. My team's already on it. I don't know if my chat made it through. Alice Miller, I don't have words to express how amazing she has single-handedly healed me after 15 years in survival mode, helped me understand life and people on a level I didn't know possible. Hannah, sir, thank you for that. Love that you're talking about spirituality. You can show me. It's okay. He's still hanging out playing with the dog. Love that you're talking about spirituality, Jimmy. Next time you talk to Tripoli, ask him to introduce you to his repeat guest, Ian Ferguson. Thank you for that recommendation, 6th Gen. I've read secondhand of someone on mescaline and peyote. Oh, that's right. You read it, the Mithraic god you encountered. Jimmy, that was very good to hear. I love the way you keep learning and growing. I'm so grateful to have found you in 2016, forensic darling. Jebus Crisis, Jimmy preaching collective consciousness. You should read Edgar Cayce, Cayce. Is it Case? Edgar Cayce. Thank you, Jebus. A nanothermate found in WTC dust, the Open Chemical Physics peer-reviewed journal. Thank you for the reference, but a fan. There's a rayon office near me. I was thinking about protesting outside there. Remind them they have kids just like in Gaza and Ukraine. Thoughts?
Oh, really?
We've got to do something. We're doing the best we can, showing examples and showing these clips. This is a part of what we can do to bring awareness. Duck, thank you, Duck RN72. But a fan, another link, University of Alaska, Engineering Department, WTC 7, Controlled Demolition. Thank you for that. Show them a link. I'm just one dude, but I really like listening to Jimmy talk about Carl Jung. Conspire Reality. Thank you, Conspire Reality. People who are obedient to authority, fascists, etc., don't have the courage to stand up to their parents. They overcompensate for this internal weakness with outward show of force against others. Thank you for that, Hannah, sir. Much appreciated. But a fan, thank you for the links. Alice Miller said Young made things overly confusing. Thank you, Hannah, sir. I read that one. Thank you, Forensic Darling. I read that one. Jimmy said at a show he went to Italy. Couldn't smoke and came back sober. International travel is going to keep me sober 1 week in July, and I do suffer lack of productivity. Kratom keeps me off dope and booze, though. Well, thank you so much. Stoop sign. Have fun in Europe. I want this Jungian JD interpretation of life cut into a clip. Jeff, it's going to happen. If you really want to understand cancer, you need to talk to Gabor Mate about it. Almost no one has the right perspective on it. He does. Well, thank you for the recommendation and reminder, Hannah, sir. We'll have to have him on to talk about that. May Jest, I wanted to ask you if you found it curious. This is interesting that a handful of alternative media people are all of a sudden talking about God. Russell Brand, Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk, Jackson Hinkle, PBD, now you. Well, thank you for that one. I'm going to try to ask that. I'll see what he wants, if he wants to talk about that later today on the locals. Jimmy, look into Bob Monroe from Monroe Institute with the Gateway Experience. We are not flies. Thank you for We Are Not Flies. I want this clip. You got it, Jeff Saucerman. All right, let me see if anything else I have. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We're going to be back in probably about 5 minutes, maybe even sooner before the top of the hour. All right. And we'll be back on Wednesday and Friday, FYI. Back on Wednesday at 3 p.m., Friday at 1 p.m. And is it Michael Malice who's our guest on Friday? Michael Malice will be our guest. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're taking off, why don't you go do something nice for somebody? Why not?
They are left undisturbed for 3 days. Then, when the jar is opened, the fleas will not jump out. In fact, the fleas will never jump higher than the level set by the lid. Their behavior is now set for the rest of their lives. And, when these fleas reproduce, their offspring will automatically follow their example.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit
Isn't it swell? The memes make themselves. They found a rabbi hole, tunnels and all. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
At this time, more than any other time, you know, revolution is necessary. It is necessary. Not only based on what has happened with the MOVE organization, you know, the babies that have been murdered, you know, MOVE adults that have been murdered, bombs being dropped on us, but past that to what is happening with all black people, so-called minority people, you know, money poor people. You know, this government, as has been said earlier, has waged war on us. But you know, something about us, particularly here in America, we don't really understand that. You know, we don't really know what war is. You know, for black people, for poor people, that people see as good, that they wasn't forced to do, that they didn't do to try to keep black people appeased, you know, and calm down so that black people wouldn't riot. A prison situation is a crystallized example of that. You can make phone calls in prison. They have movies in prison, but they don't have those things because they just want to be nice to prisoners. They have those things because they know damn well if they don't have, you know, people being able to contact their family, if they don't have, you know, facilities for people to sit there and watch movies, people are going to be frustrated, upset, and they're going to direct that frustration at them prison administrators, and they're going to have riots on their hands. You know, they're going to have people in them prisons turning them prisons out. That's why they have movies. That's why they have access to phones the way they do. And a stop to it when we don't like it, or encouraging it when it's something that's in our interest. You know, we have to call the shots. The people have to take the reins of this system and start dictating, you know, what we need, what needs to be done. And, you know, taking the initiative to do it ourselves. We can't rely on this system. I mean, you know, don't people see what's happening? Every single confrontation that MOVE people have been involved in, every single issue, you know, oppression, economic issues, every single issue facing our people, you know, is something that can be dealt with very, very simply. All people got to do is make their wishes known. All people have to do is stand up and say, listen, we're not accepting that. Unity is the key. Unity is the key to revolution. Revolution ain't nothing to be afraid of. It ain't nothing to shy away from. Revolution, contrary to what officials, you know, this system and those backing the officials running this system, you know, want people to believe that revolution means violence, you know, means blood in the street. I'm saying it can get to that point, but it don't have to be violent. You know, when people come together and take a strong stand on an issue, this government don't have no choice but to listen. Where you think they get their authority from? They don't have no power, but they do have authority to do certain things. Where you think they get it from? They get it from us, from the people. You know, they get it from us accepting the things that they do to be done to stop it. Then you have some people who want to then turn around and say, yeah, well, you know, it's the best we have, and want to make excuses. The time for excuses is over. It's over. You know, every man, woman, and child has to be involved in this revolution. Not only has to be, but is, whether you want to be or not. I mean, our babies gave their lives for this revolution on May 13th. You know, men, women, and children were murdered. And not just move babies, you know. What about all of the young men, women, you know, children 8, 9 years old shot down on the street by cops, you know, by drug pushers? I mean, you know, where do you think that mentality comes from? It comes from this system, from the mentality of this system of getting over, you know, making a quick buck, you know. I'm saying that's where that needs to be done to stop it. Then, you know, what I want people to really, really understand is that it's past time. It is past time for poor people, black people, you know, to realize that this system has failed you. It has failed you. You can't get nothing from it. And what people got to do is withdraw our support from it and start doing for ourselves. That's what we got to do. You know, how long are people going to sit back and beg, you know, this government to do what's right when for hundreds of years all you've gotten is a slap in the face? All you've gotten is this government kicking your ass. That's all. That's all black people have ever gotten from this government.